Did I cast aside Green Bay too early? Jordan Love was 17 for 25, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Josh Jacobs put up 86 yards and a touchdown. Christian Watson flying around like a possible true number one, pulling off 4 receptions, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not to overlook a very stout defense that sealed the game with an interception in the red zone. This isn't to overshadow what the Bears did. They are a real team. A great rushing attack, putting up over 100 yards with Swift and Monangai. Caleb started off flat, but between his ability to scramble and make unbelievable throws, he's really coming into his own and is far from potential bust. They have weapons, and that O line is solid. They added a few pieces in the offseason, and we've been seeing it's really benefited this season, as especially as the season progressed, becoming one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. And now that Caleb is coming into more of his own, it really has established a lot. But what really I have to say about this team, it still plays to the final whistle every game. This team plays hard, they fight hard, and I think it's really proven a lot. The Packers now hold a grip on the NFC North, controlling the future of this division. If the Packers win out, it will give them at least one home playoff game, which is huge, while this could keep the Bears in the wild card and possible future opponents in the playoffs. I've had different opinions and at times harsh criticism of both these teams throughout the offseason and this year. But after yesterday, not only will I say I'm a believer that the Bears are a good team that can do damage in the playoffs, but my pick before the season that I simmered on being the Packers representing the NFC, I may have backed out too soon. Doesn't mean I can't acknowledge that this team has found a real identity and will be scary come playoff time. They Jordan Love with since Christian Watson's been coming back, Jordan Love's be able to air the ball out like he likes to do, and now with Reed back as well, they have a lot of more of their receiving talent back to full form. And Musgrave has really stepped up in the absence of Tucker Kraft. The run game is being established again. Josh Jacobs is the bell cow there. They want to give him the ball as much as they can, and this team plays with an aggressive defense being so that is what this team is going to do week in and week out, and that's why I believe that the Packers will be a threat coming the playoffs. And this is a team that I don't know if I will pick them to make the Super Bowl like I did before the season started, but I have to say it makes my pick look a lot less foolish. But don't get it twisted. This is a team that can 100% win the Super Bowl if given the opportunity. This is the Fourth and Forever podcast. I am your host, Josh Kirby. Let's get into it. Now, with the Chiefs falling to a 6-7 record and positioned at 10th in the AFC, I think it's time to call this team what this team is: a bad team. Mahomes, who has been the best of this generation, has thrown 10 interceptions this season, and most of those turnovers have been a huge reason this game or this team cannot get it together throughout the game. This team still can't run the ball. The offensive line is banged up, and even before the injuries, I don't think they were that good. McDuffie got hurt last night. Who knows how long he'll be out? Kelsey couldn't be the safety blanket for Mahomes in this game, like he hasn't been able to multiple spots throughout the season, but he's been able to do throughout his whole career. Typically, when Mahomes gets in a tight spot and don't know where else to put the ball, Kelsey's been the option. Clearly, that has not been the case as so of recently. And Chris Jones had one of the best games of not only this season but of his career, and it didn't matter. He couldn't be the difference maker. So no matter what this defense did, it's a broken offense led by a quarterback who is not playing up to his own standard. They lost 20-10, and the Texans have put themselves into a chance at the playoff berth and possibly winning their division. We'll get into the Colts a little bit later and the Jags a little bit later, but this defense is insane. And we knew that this matchup, based on the pass rush and the bad offensive line of the Chiefs, that this would favor the Texans. But it's not like the Texans' offense was lighting up the field. Stroud played great, but we've seen him play better. This was one of those games where you kind of remember why we liked Stroud so much his rookie season, but also at the same time we know this should not be the ceiling for him. He should be able to get better as his offense hopefully gets clicking. I don't know if it'll help them much this season, but this defense keeps them in every game. But honestly, this game was just a reflection on everything the Texans have put in to make this work. They started off as a in a deficit this season, and they as a team that I didn't think would do much later in the season. I liked the defense, and we all thought this defense was great. But who would have thought they would have been able to resurrect their season and potentially win their division again? I didn't see it coming, but but they did. While the Chiefs, they dug themselves into a hole, and no matter how hard they fought, they are looking at 6-7. And for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, they are officially no longer in the race for the division. Now they are barely in the race for a playoff spot, with so many other teams just beating them in tiebreakers. It's going to be almost impossible for them to make the playoffs, but still the Chiefs, so nothing is possible. But I think with one more loss in the season, will officially most likely end the hopes for this team in the playoffs. And I think it's clear to say if they miss the playoffs, the dynasty is over. You can't miss the playoffs in the dynasty. Next year, this team must be evaluated across the board. Outside of Mahomes and Reed, every position should be evaluated. They must hit in the draft on key positions. Kelsey and Jones are not getting any younger, and who knows if either will be on the team next year. Trading Jones and letting Kelsey retire will clear up a lot of cap and give this team a chance to rebuild and build a better unit for the next phase in the Mahomes era. And it's true. I am a huge fan of Travis Kelsey. I think he's one of the greatest tight ends I've ever seen. It's him or Gronk when it comes to, I think, the greatest. I've seen Tony Gonzalez play. I saw Antonio Gates play. So but those four right there are the ones that I really look at. I'm like, those are elite tight ends. And I think he's had a phenomenal career. And if he walks away after this season, no one's going to have, it's not going to hurt his legacy whatsoever because he's said he was probably going to play until the wheels fall off. Well, it looks like the wheels are falling off, and his cap hit right now is just too high. If they can clear him out, they might be able to pay some guys or even bring in some free agents, but it definitely will help them if they have any young talent they're going to need to sign, which might happen. They're going to have to sign Rice at some point to an extension. They're probably going to have to sign McDuffie to an extension. There's guys on this team that are going to need to get paid, but they need to evaluate the whole team. And trading Chris Jones, even though it's not likely, he's inching out of his prime. He's expensive. And sometimes you look what the Cowboys did. They traded off an expensive key piece of their defense. And I would say from last year to this point of the season, this Dallas defense is the best it's been since since back when Micah and Diggs were really entered their very early in young careers. Most importantly, that was when Dan Quinn was the defense coordinator there. But now Dallas is looking great. So sometimes trading away a key player, it may not be ideal for overall for structure of your team. It may not look as pretty at first, but it can turn out to be a really good thing. And maybe this is what the Chiefs need to do to jumpstart and get maybe some more pieces on this offense to help this offense perform at a more consistent rate. But speaking of teams that have fallen to 6-7, I must bring up the Baltimore Ravens. You know, my team. We lost a much needed divisional game to the Steelers. But before I deep dive into anything else, I want to first say that likely score looked like a touchdown to me. He had both hands on the ball. He's 2 feet in the end zone. Yeah, it popped out, but I've seen enough plays over the years where to me, that was a touchdown. Now, I don't get paid to make those decisions, so I'm not going to sit here and dwell on it too much. And quite frankly, even if that touchdown was scored, that wasn't the game. We should have scored afterwards. We have put ourselves in a position in the red zone. We need to turn drives into touchdowns. It's something we were really good at in the past couple of seasons, but we have not been as good this season. But like I said, that's not why we lost. Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf had our number a few times this game. I wouldn't say it was throughout the whole game, but they tacked us deep. They made some game changing. Aaron made some game changing throws, and DK made some game changing catches, and that truly was the huge separator of this game. Not to mention that our defense looked tired again, where our offense is not clicking fast enough, so our defense is out there too much. The pass rush is still not getting home, and the DBs just look tired constantly. Humphrey, Wiggins, they're all just running. I say this all the time. If my defensive back is on one side of the field and they're running to the other side and you see them running back and running back, if they're going side to side, that means they're just covering a man, and that means that man is no longer running his route, which means the quarterback is probably extending the play, which when you watch quarterbacks such as Aaron Rodgers, who's probably been the best quarterback in the NFL since he's really came out into his own at extending plays, like that's what's going to happen. The receivers are going to get open, plays are going to be made, and it's going to look really bad on our secondary, which really, once again, we can't get a pass rush in. We made a trade, which I thought was cool, but underwhelming. Guess what? Didn't matter. He is not getting home. We're not getting sacks. We do not get to the quarterback, and we're letting an old quarterback who is not as mobile as he once was still roll out, still extend plays, and still make things happen. It's bad. But that wasn't even the worst of it. Lamar's not healthy. Lamar is playing some of his worst football since his rookie season. At least his rookie season, he had that explosive running ability, which he just does not have this season. And I don't want to say it's because of injury, but I wouldn't be surprised if come the off season it's announced that Lamar is having surgery in the off season. His I don't know if it's his ankle or his calf or his hamstring. I don't know what it is, but he's not as explosive. He seems uncomfortable, and obviously the guards, this offensive line, he does not trust, and I wouldn't trust our guards either. Falele has been a huge handicap for us this season. He's not good. He's not holding his blocks. He's almost useless out there. And Juarez, I don't know. I was never big on him anyway, and I don't think he's really done anything to prove he's earned that job. I think we need two new guards easily. But a huge thing is it's also a difference thing that we haven't worried about since Lamar, like early in his career. If anyone remembers when Lamar came into the league, he fumbled a lot. He fumbled a lot early in his career, which has skewed some of his numbers overall since he's been in the league with turnovers, because he's turned over a lot at the beginning of his career, but not as much recently. As in the last 2 years, Lamar has had total of 62 passing touchdowns, 9 rushing touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. In that span, he we that was our team offense was clicking, and we were amazing. That was incredible. Now in this season, he has a total of 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He's he's not as decisive, and you can tell that it's just there's something not clicking. I believe it's injury. I believe he's not 100%. I believe he's way closer to 50% than 100, and I think because we're still kind of in it, he's out there. But if this team was 10-2, or if this team was sitting like the Bengals 4-9, I don't think Lamar would be playing. I think Lamar would be sitting, he'd be resting, he'd be getting himself either ready for the playoffs or ready for next season. But because we're still in a limbo position where we're not out of it, it's tough. But even though we still have a shot at making the playoffs, the next 4 games are not ideal. We play the Bengals next, which we saw how it looked a week ago. Now, I don't believe it will look like that again. I think we will come in and we will play a little better. But who knows? Our defense has to step up and stop Burrow and these weapons, and our offense has to score. If we don't score, we won't win that game. Then we play the Patriots, and we've all talked all year about it. Patriots have been one of the best teams in the NFL. The coaching's been amazing. Defense has been great. The defense is one of the best at stopping the run. So getting Henry going is going to be really difficult. And then our best receiver is going to be matched up against Christian Gonzalez, which is going to be a matchup nightmare for us. We are not favored in that. I don't dislike our weapons, but I don't like our weapons against top corners because I don't believe that any of our weapons have what's the word? Have really stood out. Let's say stood out. Hasn't really stood out as specific wide receiver one or the top target. Mark Andrews get lost at times when he gets taken away. He's not the guy he once was, even though I think he's still great. He's not in his prime anymore. He's more in that latter half of his career, but he can still be efficient. Zay has proven a spark here and there, but sometimes he does too much and he fumbles the ball, or like Bateman did yesterday. They see end zone before they catch the ball. D Hop is not a consistent factor. He's a guy I wouldn't mind bringing back next year because I think what he brings to the locker room is huge. And if we can get him more involved, I wouldn't be against it. But I do think this offense just seems like it's not clicking. I feel like we're not getting enough people involved. But at the same uh, but not to put it all on our weapons. Lamar's missing open guys. He's throwing Zay too high. He's throwing it to the ground. He's not clicking. But like I said, we play the Packers, which their defense is stout. Then we play Pittsburgh again in week 18. These are four teams that at least three of them, especially if we don't beat Steelers in week 18, or if we don't win any of these games coming up, there's going to be three teams that make the playoffs here. We have one of the hardest stretches to end the season. I mean, I'd put up us up there with the Colts. I mean, the Colts. I'll talk about that later, but they have a rough go about it. But we definitely have one of the roughest goes coming in, finishing out the season. And I just, even if we beat the Bengals, I think it's going to be really hard for us to win 4 games in a row against the talent we're going to play, especially the Packers and Patriots, which are playing some of their best football they've played. I mean, Patriots playing the best football since Brady, and I'm not talking about the last season Brady. I'm talking about probably the season before. And the Packers are just playing some of the best football of any team this season. But that week 18 game against the Steelers, in my opinion, is going to decide everything. Because I think both teams are going to come in probably sitting at 8-8 is what I'm believing. And the winner of the division is going to be 9-8, and the loser of the division is going to be 8-9. But that's kind of how I see things playing out. But also, I want to give some credit to the Steelers real quick. One, that was probably the best game as a Steeler Patrick Queen's ever played. Used to be a former Raven, for those you don't know. And I love Queen. I didn't want us to let him go. I think it's a mistake we let him go. We didn't offer him enough money, but he wanted to go play somewhere else. I think he wanted to stand out and show what he can really do on his own. But I think the pairing of him and Roquan Smith were unmatched, and I don't think, even with Kyle Hamilton moving all over the defense, I don't think we've matched that level of production since. I think what them two were able to produce in the middle of the field, mixed in with Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey, and now with Nate Wiggins, it would be the defense. I think would be even better than it has been in last year and this year. So I think that's a huge loss that we're missing Pat Queen, and he proved every bit of it in that game yesterday. But Steelers on purpose. They still can't run the ball, and this defense is still not perfect. I mean, the comeback was in sight. It was a 5 point swing, so I'm not gonna act like we got blown out because we didn't. We were on the comeback trail, and we did score a touchdown to put us in a position. It may have got taken away, but we did do what we needed to do to try to come back. We didn't execute enough. But the winner of this division is going to sneak into the playoffs. They're going to get lucky by the fact of if you win your division, you're in, and that's going to be this team. The one of these teams. It's going to be very similar to the NFC South between the Bucks and Carolina. One of those we're going to have two teams entering the playoffs, probably the fourth seeds, and they're going to be a liable one and dones based on the road teams that are going to come in. These teams have to focus on next season. So first, the Ravens. They're going to enter the offseason with a lot of key questions and problems. First, what happens to Harbs? I've been saying this all season. I was I said if we don't make the playoffs with this roster, it's time to let Harbs go. And I love John Harbaugh. As I've talked about since I started the podcast, I started really becoming an overwhelming fan of football, especially the Ravens in 2008 when we contracted John Harbaugh and hired him as our head coach, and when we drafted Joe Flacco, and that since then, Harb's got us to a Super Bowl. Harb's got us a lot of playoff victories. Harb has really set stone and helped Lamar achieve 2 MVP seasons. But at the end of the day, with a roster like this, whether Lamar is 100% or not, there is no reason we are not a playoff team. And there's even less of a reason why we're not contenders. It doesn't make sense to me. But that is the biggest question, I think, going into the offseason. What do we do about Harbaugh? I'm on two sides of this. I think if we re-sign Harbaugh, I think we need to evaluate both our coordinators. I don't think Mudkin knows how to use our personnel that well. I think he was really good his first 2 years with Lamar. Now that everyone's seen his offense, it's not clicking. I don't think he schemes us up very well. I don't think he knows personnel as well as maybe personnel's him, and maybe that's more of a Harbaugh thing than him. But either way, I think he's not using the guys we have well enough, so they got to be evaluated. And Zach Orr, I like him. I've been a proponent to the defense just needs to execute. But at the end of the day, if you're starting off slow every season and then getting better, yes, that's cool. You're improving, but I don't want you to improve throughout the season. I want you to be like Minnesota. I want you to be like Seattle. I want you to be like the Texans, where that defense was good week one and that defense is good today. That's what we need. I don't want another season of our defense coming out and not looking its best week one, or at least by the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. I don't want to wait till almost halfway through the season for this defense to get better and then it be almost too late, because now when the defense can't always be perfect, the offense isn't doing anything. And that's a scary thought when the defense probably could have kept us in games early in the season that we should have won. Next would be, do we resign Isaiah Likely? With signing Mark Andrews to a 3 year, $39 million contract, it opens up the questions with all of our tight ends were up for grabs this season going into free agency. Do we sign Kohler? Do we sign Likely? I could see us letting Likely go, even though I like Likely a lot. I think he's a great tight end too, and honestly, I think if it wasn't for his injury, he would have slotted into that tight end one spot early in the season. But his foot injury set him back, and I think it set back his whole season. And now we've seen some blunder plays. We've seen him fumble throughout the end zone. His touchdown get called back. We haven't seen him produce at a high enough level for us to be confident in signing him. But he's got the skills and the ability. I wouldn't be surprised if a team that really needs a tight end for their young quarterback, for them to go get him and bring him in and sign him. I mean, teams like the Titans, they got Cam Ward. They need to get him some weapons. You don't think Likely would really drastically help that team? Uh, I can't think off the top of my head any other young teams that might need him, but there's plenty of teams out there that I think would love to bring in a young tight end and really develop them into their system. And I think he would thrive in a lot of different teams and in a lot of, across this league. I think he would thrive in our organization if we given him the chance. Next is, what can we do about our guards? Clearly, Falalele, if they don't let him go, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a riot here in Baltimore. Trust me, there is not a single thing that all of us Ravens fans agree on more than that he is our biggest liability each and every week. It was last year our biggest liability was Brandon Stevens. We got rid of him. This year it's Falalele, and he needs to go. Our other guard, Vahores, he's just not stepping up. He's not doing his thing. I don't think he's as bad as Falalele, but I don't think I'm a believer of results, and every time, and I'm an eye test guy. Sometimes stats on everything, but when I look on the field and I'm seeing the constantly the pressure getting blown up the middle, Lamar getting hit before he gets a chance, tackle for losses, our running backs not being able to hit a hole because there's no holes there. That's on the guards. The guards need to do that protection. I see our tackles doing their job. I see Linderbaum doing his job. I don't see our guards doing the job, and that's something we need to immediately address. Another question is the pass rush. We once again, another year, no pass rush. It blows my mind that a couple years ago we led the league in sacks, and with guys like Jadeveon Clowney, but we had Jason Pierre-Paul on the team. We had tons of nah, Van Noy wasn't there that season, but there was tons of guys that came in and was getting high sack production, and we were the best defense in football. 2 years later, we can't get a sack to save our lives. We can't get any pressure. We can't sack Aaron Rodgers, who's 40 some years old. That is ridiculous. There's no reason we struggled to get to Burrow, who just came off a turf toe injury. How are we not getting at these quarterbacks when we just made a trade for a pass rusher, when we've drafted pass rushers? Something in our process is not right. Whether it's we're not coaching them up properly, our development is poor in that aspect, whether it's we're not drafting the right guys, we're just drafting bust and that's our mistake, or is it we're not making swings on the guys we need to make swings for? I love that we signed Andrews, and luckily we got him cheaper because I was worried we were going to overpay. But now we got to free up some cap space. We might lose some guys that we love to watch as fans. There's one guy specifically that has been mentioned this past season, off season for a trade target, and this season it might happen again, and that's Marlon Humphrey. Now, I'm a huge Humphrey guy. I believe that there's no way in hell we should ever consider trading Marlon Humphrey because I think what he brings as a slot corner is amazing, and he can get pressure on the quarterback. He does enough things that I think, and he's a locker room leader. He's currently one of our locker room leaders, so I don't think that's good. But I understand if that's a possibility because this team needs to make changes for this team to be the team it's supposed to be. And I think the most important question going in the offseason, how do we get Lamar right? Is it a new offensive coordinator? Is it changing out the guards? Is it him getting healthy? Him just maybe having surgery or maybe finding rehab or maybe him just consulting someone to help get his body back to the way it should be? Because Lamar we're seeing since I would say at least since he got banged up has not been the same Lamar that we were used to. Lamar started this season not not like this. I think it's been so far since the Detroit and the Buffalo and all those early games in the season that people almost forget how great Lamar is. People almost forget that he doesn't turn the ball over. He's explosive. He's a great decision maker. He's a really good deep ball thrower. There's so many things that he does at a high level that we're not seeing on a consistent basis. And I think it's really skewing people's opinions of him, and it shouldn't because he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And if he can get healthy next season, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on an MVP run because he's going to come back with some vengeance. But those are the questions that really, I would say, hang over our heads whether we make the playoffs or not because this is not a team that can win a Super Bowl. As for the Steelers, their main question is Tomlin. Is Tomlin what are they going to do with Tomlin? The reports are that they're not going to fire Tomlin this season because of his contract. They'll probably let him walk after next season. I think that's what it says. His contract's up. But what do? You make the playoffs and you're one and done again. Does Rodgers want to come back to this? I mean, if I was Aaron Rodgers, I may like the culture, but there's definitely a team that you wanted to go to that has better weapons, a better offensive line, a better defense. I would say a better coaching staff for what you do, and that's Minnesota because they're clearly not decided on JJ. And I'll get more into Minnesota later in the pod, but that's he really wanted to go there. Steelers were not his first choice. Steelers were just the main team calling. So, and then they got figuring out their run game. They drafted a rookie that didn't pan out. Jalen Warren's not the answer. Kenneth Gainwell was explosive, but he's not an every down back. Steelers have a lot. They need to add depth to that. They need to add young depth to that defense. They got a lot of older guys. The consistency's not there. They play really hard and fast when it comes to divisional games or big games, but sometimes they get sloppy at times and they're not as effective at other times. And the consistency is a huge thing. They need to get younger. They need to get more consistent. Those are the main things I think the Steelers have to do going into the offseason to really prepare themselves. Where next season it's going to be a battle again because Burrow's back, Lamar will be there. You still the AFC is not going to get any easier. This is the easiest I would say the AFC has been for these dominant top tier teams because the Ravens underperformed, the Chiefs underperforming, even the Bills I would say in some regards underperforming. With them might not even win the division. The Colts being a division leader now falling off. The Texans defense doing great but has a shaky offense. The Jags might make the playoffs, and who trusts them? I mean, there's so much in the AFC that this is the year to take advantage of it, and it's going to be really difficult from here on out. Because if anyone thinks the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, you'd be sadly mistaken. Teams like this, with this caliber quarterback and this caliber coach, don't miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. How they normally don't miss the playoffs. That's why this is such big news and so shocking. But other news coming out of the AFC, specifically the AFC South, the Colts have lost Daniel Jones for the season. He injured his Achilles in the game. He was already dealing with breaking his leg. And now with him out for the season, this has probably ended not only his season, but the season for the Colts. But before I get into the Colts, let's say thoughts are with Daniel Jones and his family. I hope he has a speedy recovery. I hope everything works out and he'll be back by the beginning of next season. He should be so proud of what he was able to do for this team. This gave this team so much hope and this city so much hope. And they were able to be proud of the team they put out each and every week. You could see this team, though, sputtering the last few weeks, losing, I think it was the four of their last five or four games in a row. Either way, this team has not been the same team that started the season. I think Jones being injured has been the main reason for it, but either way, they're not running the ball the same. They're just not dominating and beating up teams like they were, and they're not winning close games. They're just not winning. This is a team that the rest of their schedule does not get any easier. It's what they play the Seahawks next. I If they're going to put out rookie quarterback Riley Leonard against the Seahawks team, the Seahawks might have another shutout or at least another blowout on their record. Then they play the Niners, who are they're just playing at a high level right now. Even with injuries across the board, they're playing at a high level. Then you play the Jags and the Texans, and I think both those teams are looking to get a win over you because they're trying to shore up both teams are trying to shore up the division. This is a team that's 8-5 that is most likely going to finish 8-9, but it's a team that can be proud looking the next season, thinking, hey, maybe we got something. We just have to just keep building, keep grinding it out. But because of that injuries, now the Texans and Jags are prime. One of them are going to win the division, and both teams probably will make the playoffs, especially with another loss to the Chiefs. The Texans beating the Chiefs. Jags have already beaten the Chiefs. Them two teams have really narrowed out the wild card spots potentially, with the other teams really competing with them is with Buffalo. You got, and then what would be the other team? The Chargers. Those are really the teams fighting for that wild card. More likely than not, how it looks like the season is going to progress. Chiefs miss the playoffs. Ravens, Steelers, one make the playoffs, one won't. Colts probably miss, and then we're going to see probably Texans or Jags slide in as that 6 or 7 seed in the AFC. Another team's playoff hopes that may have been squashed yesterday were the Bengals. They lost 34-39 against the Bills in a very fun, snowy matchup. Josh Allen went full Superman again, extending his already set NFL record to his 50th game with a passing and a rushing touchdown. And that's just incredible. He's playing like an MVP again. If it wasn't for the Bills having some up and down games and Allen having up and down games, this is a team that this is a quarterback that might be putting himself in an MVP conversation, especially depending on what he does the rest of the season. They play the Patriots next week, which that game will probably decide the division. Patriots already got one game up. If the Patriots can beat the Bills again, that more likely than not will secure the division for the Patriots, which will have the Bills fighting for a wild card spot, which I think they will easily claim based on the other teams coming into the wild card positioning. He had his longest rushing touchdown of his career, while on the other side we had Joe Burrow, who was playing lights out up until the end of the game when I guess the Superman wasn't isn't in his blood. He threw 2 interceptions at the end of the game. One was just a plain bad ball. The other one was a really good play. Either way, one turned to a pick six. The other turned into points for the opposing offense, and that now puts you at a deficit. The Bengals could not come back after that, and the Bills secured it, and the Bengals now fall to 9 losses on the season. They most likely can kiss their playoffs goodbye, and hopefully they're going to spend most of next season improving this defense because I really do believe if they can improve this defense, this is a quarterback, this is an offense, this is a team that really can win moving forward. Now, whether they're going to keep Zach Taylor as a head coach or not, I think that's a little more uncertain. I think he's done enough to earn himself one more year, but he's got to get the defensive coordinator right, and they got to get pieces on this defense. Because if they do not improve this defense, this team will just be in the same position as they've been in the last couple of years with Joe Burrow. Because when you have a quarterback of that ability, and you've seen now that he's come out, you've seen him back-to-back games back. Oh, they got to play off a Super Bowl winning quarterback right there. But is this a Super Bowl winning team? Is this a Super Bowl winning organization? That they have to figure that out themselves, because this very much could be another story of the Bengals where they feel like they have their guy but they can't get anything else right, which is just ridiculous. You should not have. It's just kind of like I will. Any team that has, in my opinion, an elite quarterback should be under the harshest of criticism, because if you are not doing everything you can to put this team in a position to win when you have an elite quarterback, then someone is failing somewhere. And that goes for the Chiefs with Mahomes, the Bills with Allen, Bengals with Burrow, the Ravens with Lamar, and any other quarterback you consider elite. I mean, Rams with Stafford. There's certain teams with these quarterbacks that you expect, whether it's playoffs or Super Bowl, you expect better than you expect those teams who are still trying to figure out their quarterback position. Some teams that are a little shaky on quarterback, but well, I believe in him. But I've been saying it every week. Let's see you in the postseason. But the Seahawks got another dominant victory. Their defense cooked again. This how they beat the components compared to how the Texans do it is so different. I feel like the Seahawks are the flashy defense. They're fun. They make big plays. You get excited to watch them. It's like, man, this team just plays hard. But then you watch the Texans defense and you're like, man, they're grinding out these offenses. They're putting the bully to them. It's like it's still the same. You're still seeing almost the same product, but you're just seeing it. It's so different. Like I love watching Seattle defense plays for the excitement, as you never know who's gonna do what. But you watch the Texans team, you're like, man, these guys, these secondary forces turnovers, these they're getting sacks, they're beating up their competition. Then the Seahawks are beating up the competition. They just might be a little flashy about it. Then you got the Vikings defense, which is do a little bit of both. I think all these defenses is so exciting to watch. But specifically, what Seahawks have done this season has just if a team's not as good as them, they show up and they prove it. There's they will beat teams that are lesser than them. So them entering the playoffs, even if it's in a wild card position, I could definitely see this team going on the road and winning. They've been one of the best road teams in the NFL since McDonald has taken over as head coach. So it's I my expectations on this defense showing up in a playoff game, whether it's at home or on the road, is very high. Now, whether Darnold can step up, we'll have to see. That is something we all will have to just sit and hold our breath and hope he can put it together and help elevate this team to the heights where it should go. But in on this team, the biggest bright spot. I mean, you love the defense. Whether you love or hate Darnold, you can't deny what he's done. You have to love the coach. McDonald has done amazing things here. But the biggest bright spot is the guy who I put number 2 in my offensive player of the year rankings, but now after the Colts season falling off, JT not being able to get the production he needs because of the way the games have trended for the Colts, Jackson Smith Ninjigba, JSN, he's fourth in the league in receptions at 89. He's first in the league with yards at 1428. That's 1,428 yards. Yes, let's be clear that 2K is in his sights. He's got 4 games left. He's got to average a little over 100 yards a game to get there, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. And he's got 9 touchdowns, which is tied for second in the league. He's put up an offensive player of the year stats, and I think the main thing that puts to it, it's consistency. Every single week he's involved in the offense. Every single week he's the most important piece of that offense. Every single week he's doing something that makes this offense start gelling better. Even when their offense isn't perfect, they get him going and it adds that extra spark. Because we've seen it many times. This offense starts slow for the Seahawks, then they get him involved. Then it just opens things up because people are worried about him too much. And then the other people are getting involved. And all of a sudden the offense starts clicking. You're looking and you're like, wow, this is a very dominant offense when they can get things going. And that defense keeps them in the game no matter what happens. So either way, 2K is not out of sight for JSN. And if he does achieve that, that would be a great height. I think him beating Calvin Johnson's receiving record is also in sights, and I would love to see that happen. But either way, the Seahawks team, I think the biggest question mark going into the playoffs, can Darnold put it together and win a playoff game? We've seen Daniel Jones do it, and I would say I think Sam Darnold's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. So if Daniel Jones can win a playoff game, I would bet on Sam Darnold being able to win at least one playoff game. And this defense, they just got to keep doing their thing. Another team, though, with a great defense, like I mentioned, that got a win yesterday was the Vikings. You know, they're the first team in the, at least in recent memory of the NFL. I don't know how long it might date back, but they were shut out last week and they shut an opponent out this week. This defense is phenomenal. They beat a banged up Commanders team. Jane Daniels gets hurt again. I think the Commanders really have to worry about fixing the issues they should have fixed last season that they thought they fixed and they definitely did not fix, even though I kept saying I like this team because I like Jane Daniels, but if he can't stay healthy, I don't like this team because I don't like the offensive line, I don't like the defense, but I don't want to bang on them too much because I really do feel for this team because I love Jaden Daniels. I think he's got so much talent, and if he can stay healthy, he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But he needs to stay healthy for this team because they need him so bad. But to the Vikings, I have not seen a roster this stacked probably since I would say in recent memory. It was that Cowboys team that had all them All Pros, specifically on the O line. The Ravens team that had all them Pro Bowlers and a lot of All Pros was like 2 years ago. But this team, what it really reminds me of, is the San Francisco 49ers team that went to the Super Bowl. What is it? 2 of 3 years, 2 and 4 years, something like that. And they had Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback, and they clearly weren't happy with that. He was a good enough quarterback to get them to the playoffs, but he wasn't good enough to get them a Super Bowl championship. They have they have so much talent around this roster. Hell, this team might be more talented than that team across the board. That 49ers defense was insane, but they had really good offensive pieces. But that was a roster that was just stacked top to bottom, except for quarterback, where you weren't sure how you felt about Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, hell, they pretty much didn't throw at all leading up to that Super Bowl, one of those Super Bowl appearances. On the flip side of things, this team with JJ McCarthy, it's almost a similar problem. This team is loaded with talent, but is he good? He played an okay game. I will give him credit. He played an okay game, but he did not play an elite level game, and I don't know if he ever will. I don't know what his ceiling is, but this is a team that you cannot waste this talent. You cannot waste this roster on a quarterback you're not sure about. Because clearly, there's a misconception here of whether he's good or not, because this organization stuck with him even though they had Darnold in buildings last year. And you know this offense can produce because you saw what Darnold could do with this team. Now, I know you got to give this is JJ's technically his first year as a starter. He's got banged up a little bit a few times. He's clearly it's clearly a little too much for him right away. So maybe he just needs a full season, and they got reevaluated and maybe bring him back next season and see what happened. But you have to have another answer in the building. Because if JJ is not the answer, you don't want to waste another season with this roster. Because this team does not get cheaper. This team is going to get older. You got enough pieces on this team right here, right now, to put yourself in Super Bowl position, and they're not even going to make the playoffs. And that is a problem when your roster is this good. And I've said it before, when you have a roster this good, even if you don't have the quarterback, you know you have the coach, you know your receivers are good, you know your offensive line is not perfect, but it's better than most. Your defense is playing at a high level, and you might not have Brian Flores next year. And if you have him one more year, you're not going to have him another year after that, because this man will get a head coaching job, whether he's waiting for the right job to open up or he's just gung ho and said, let's do it. I've been a heavy proponent, talking with my little brother, and said, hey, if we don't keep Harbs, if we let Harbs walk, I want to go get him. I want Brian Flores. That I would love for him to head coach the Ravens. He has that intensity, he has a spirit, and you don't think he won't make that defense better like that? Oh, I know he will. So this Vikings team needs to figure out what they're going to do, because if you have a quarterback being the reason that holds this team back, then you need to reevaluate and fix it fast. Because eventually, even if you get the quarterback right in 2-3 years, this roster is going to be not the same, and you're out of it. Now, wind down. This will be the end of the podcast. The last thing I want to talk about is two teams that I think are two of the best teams, maybe the two best teams in the NFL. Two teams that I believe not only are going to win their division, but are more likely not going to win their conferences. That is the Denver Broncos and the LA Rams. First, let's start with the Broncos. The Broncos beat the Raiders 24-17. It's a divisional game. Games are going to be close, but the game wasn't close. Score wise, yeah, it's a one score game. Visually, we all watched that game. Raiders have no reason to be in a game like this. Raiders are not at the level of this team. This team has, with I think another win or two, will secured up this division. The Chiefs are now out of it, so it's just them and the Chargers. And based on health and just talent at the moment, the Broncos have the edge there. This team has everything you need to win a Super Bowl, though. Their pass rush is amazing. They got a top 5 corner, maybe probably a top 3 corner in the league. Their receiving weapons don't have to be phenomenal, but they're all good. They're all really good, not great, but really good. I don't love the running back, and it's not that I don't like Harvey. I think he's just now getting his feet under him, but he has proven to be a good check down guy. He's good when you get the ball in his hands. You gotta get him available. I think he's a guy I don't love, but I don't dislike him. I like him. I like RJ Harvey stealing, but it's still too early to see what he's gonna be. You got a Super Bowl winning head coach. There's so much around this team I love, and even though I don't love the quarterback, I love what the quarterback does in clutch moments. He understands clutch. He understands 2 minute drives. He understands fourth quarter, gotta have it. He understands we're down, we have to get the points. He understands in big spots and big moments, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta make it happen. Now, yes, I would like for him to play a perfect 4 quarters of football. You look at him and you'll be like, that's the guy. He can be a top 5 quarterback. I don't ever think Bo Nix has potential of being a top 5 quarterback in the league, but I have very much believe that Bo Nix can win a Super Bowl. If Sean Payton didn't think he could win a Super Bowl with Bo Nix, he wouldn't have drafted him. Bo Nix is on that roster because Sean Payton thinks he can win a Super Bowl with Bo Nix. And right now, the roster that's put around him can win a Super Bowl because that defense is damn good and the offense clicks just good enough. And they win in clutch moments, and I believe in this coaching staff. Even though Sean Payton is not as high on the potential coach of the year, people probably have Vrabel or McDonald or Ben Johnson on that list. I'm still a very firm believer that there's no what he's able to do in probably the hardest coach division in football and playing against had to play twice has to still hasn't played second time but has to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year, has to go against this his defense. Max Crosby is still paying, so you play against good defenders. You are in the AFC, which is normally a very tightly contested conference. Not as, it's been a little more rocky this season with the Chiefs and Ravens struggling, but either way, normally one of the heaviest conferences, and he's able to do what he's been able to do, especially with a quarterback that we would say is not a top 5 quarterback in the conference. I mean, in his own division, you would put Bo Nix as the third best quarterback in his division. I mean, I would take Mahomes over him. I'll take Herbert over him. So you have the third best quarterback in your division. You don't have a top 5 quarterback in your conference, but yet you're you're primed to get the number 1 seed. No, if I will keep I don't know, banging the drum. I will keep saying it as loudly as I can. Sean Payton right now is coaching the best in the NFL compared to any other coach. He should be coach of the year because what he's been able to do is damn impressive. Don't give me, I've seen what the Patriots can do. Trust me, I give credit to Vrabel, but I think Drake May's better than Bo Nix, so I have to give more credit to Peyton here. I love Ben Johnson, but I think we all can agree when the ceiling when when the careers are over and the ceiling gets set, Caleb has a higher ceiling than Bo Nix. Now his floor I think is a little higher. I think Caleb is probably better than Bo Nix, even though we haven't fully seen it. He's definitely got way more wow than Bo Nix. Either way, you have to give credit to Sean Payton and this team. But at the end of the day, this is a team that is the team to beat in the AFC. I think they're built for the playoffs. I think they're built for a Super Bowl team, and they're going to meet, in my opinion, more likely than not, the Rams. Because as of right now, that is my favorite team in the NFC. The Rams got a dominant win over the Cardinals, 45-17. That was a smackdown and a half. The Rams, like the Broncos, they do have a lot of Super Bowl, I would say, winning aspirations with the needs you need to have a team to win it. They have a quarterback I believe in, which is something I'm not as high on the Broncos. Like I said, don't love Knicks, but I really like Knicks. I love Stafford. He's playing like an MVP. I've been saying it for weeks. He's my MVP. This team believes in him. He's won a Super Bowl. I think he secures another Super Bowl. Not only should we talk about him as a solidified Hall of Famer, but 2 Super Bowls really put Stafford in the next, I think, echelon of quarterbacks. He will get a lot more praise because he's going to finish with some, maybe not all time records, but at least top 10 in most records. They have a Super Bowl winning coach as well in Sean McVay, who's incredible with what he's been able to do with this team. The turnaround for this team has been fast. They had one kind of down year and they right back into it. Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk, Young, all the guys on this defensive front, it's been phenomenal. This defensive front has really because of them being able to get to the quarterback, it's lessened the pressure on the secondary. The secondary may not get any better than what they are right now, but they're good enough to keep them in games. And this pass rush will keep the secondary from having to do too much. And unlike the Broncos, this team does have elite weapons. They have Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, which I would say at the moment are the best receiving duo in football. I know some will give it to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Some will give it to maybe Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. No, this is the best. We've seen the production they're putting out. This is the best wide receiver duo right now in football. I mean, I will listen to the debates with Jamar and T, but that's it. I think this is just phenomenal. And they have a running back I trust more in Kyron Williams, who has really stepped up, and they've proven if they need to, they can lean on him. This is maybe chalk it up to experience when it comes to Stafford, but he's better than Bo, and I give the edge to the Rams as probably the better team in the NFL. But I think give or take. I mean, we watched them dominate another team. I mean, they felt like they've really stepped in it, losing to Carolina last week, and they bounced back even better than we could have hoped. But we got two teams that are going to enter the playoffs. Two teams that might get the number one seed. Two teams that are playing right now, I think, better football than the other teams in the league. I think you can have more faith in the Broncos and the Rams than you can have any other top team in the NFL because they check off a lot more boxes than the other teams check off. Now, I still have until the bracket is set to officially make my playoff predictions. As you can tell, I see where I'm leaning, but we're not there yet. But there's no team there. I don't think there's any two teams that are more standout than these two teams at the moment. But the one thing we've learned in the NFL, any given Sunday, is something my dad's taught me since I was younger. Basically, for those who've never heard that, that means anything can happen at any time because this season has been one of the most unpredictable seasons of my lifetime. I've never watched an NFL season where I'm like, when the playoffs enter, I have belief on who the best two teams is, but I have no idea who's going to actually be in the Super Bowl. But at the end of the game, with everything in the NFL, and then this is probably, I would say, no season in the past at least 10 years has been more wide open for any team in the playoffs to really make a name for themselves. And all I know is whatever team comes out and can really make a name for themselves in the playoffs and get themselves in the Super Bowl, they will be able to etch their name in history and rightfully deserve to call themselves champions. This has been the Fourth and Forever podcast. Like and subscribe. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And most importantly, have a great rest of your day. Thank you.